Hey, what's up guys? Back in the shop with another part to this DR project. I've been enjoying this bike to the full. After we did the last video, click up there in the top if you want to see it, but we did a full carb overhaul, full carb clean on it, and put in an idle mix, or put in a fuel mix screw and set the bike up right. It's been running beautifully, really happy with it. We have some more parts come in. Just today we arrived some parts to address an important issue for this bike. That is some JT sprockets and a new chain. Now, in case you didn't know, the DR is geared very high from factory. So what that means is it's geared very much for speed and not as much for torque or bottom end, which is odd because the DR is more tailored to the dirt. It's more of a dirt bike that's road legal. So it's strange that they would gear it like that. The engineers and designers also did a bunch of other garbage to the bike that they shouldn't have done that we're addressing. But the bike is geared way too high for technical stuff. It's like slow crawling around, crawling up over rocks and small trails. You just constantly clutch in and out, in and out. You're riding the clutch all the time, going up hills. And then you can sail along on the highway 130 or 40 kilometers an hour, and it's just cruising comfortably like it. So that doesn't make much sense to have it geared like that. The bike runs a stock 15 counter sprocket. That's 15 teeth on the front sprocket, the engine, and then 42 in the rear, back on the wheel. We're switching out with, like I said, JT's 44 in the rear and a 15 up front. So that should make a big difference. Now, I can't find hardly any content online. I don't know why, with this being such a popular bike and tried and true bike, the content out there on it is garbage. So I'm hoping I'm adding well to the mix. Like, what kind of speeds, what kind of setup can I expect out of a 1444? I'm not really sure. Am I going to max out at 90 kilometers an hour on the highway? Am I going to drop down to walking speeds on the trails in first gear? I have no idea. So I'm hoping to give you some idea with this video. Maybe you've got a DR, or you're thinking about getting one, and this is a cheap way to change things up. So I'll roll some footage there now to show you exactly what I can get out of the bike in each gear. And that's not really squeezing or winding it out. That's just where you would probably normally change a gear. You'll get an idea, and you can see that in first gear it's just ridiculously fast. Let's start our work here. First thing I have to do is break that rear axle bolt. I don't have a wrench as big as this bolt is, I don't believe. If you remember last time we had this off to maintain that chain and sprocket and get a new front tire on there, that rear axle, that rear shaft was a bit tough to pull out of there. Let's see what it's like this time. I would say that's a little more like it. You can see still has a beautiful coating of grease on there, like I left it with. So now I believe I had to switch out to a new rear chain anyways, just because of the ratio of the new front and rear sprocket. But I think it's time to ditch this chain anyways. You can see these links are really stiff, so much so that you can feel that liveliness and vibration in the back end, and I don't like that. Just makes everything feel sloppy and poor. When I had the bike up on the lift on the chain maintenance video, and I was just letting the chain roll over with the wheel in the air, the bike's on the lift there, you can see in that video that the bike is jumping and jarring. And that is from the few seized links in this chain that are kind of are breaking and jumping the bike each time. So it's going to be nice to get that cleared up. Okay, so those bolts are removed and they were a piece of cake. I just took them off with the 1/4" impact ratchet there, and super easy. The new sprocket just mounts right on in the same spot, but we're moving up, remember, a couple teeth, so that sprocket is going to be slightly larger there. So this is nice. This new one's black too, which I like. We'll get it bolted up and we'll move on to the front. So right now is a fine time to remove that old chain, and these are all pins through here that are basically have peen heads on them. So what I need to do, if you go with an aftermarket chain, it'll have like a clip, so you can just easily pull off a retainer clip and slip out a pin. These factory chains, of course, they didn't make them really to remove, so you got to go ahead, grind off the head, and then we'll just punch it out. In hindsight, I probably should have did it with the old sprocket on there, so I could have had it and punched to the tooth in the sprocket. But that's fine. This will work. This will work just fine. And there we have it. I drove that pin through there, and you can see we have a broken chain. You can see just by looking at this piece of chain here. Look how it doesn't fall. This should just naturally fall here, but you can bend those links just how you want. You can see when it hangs there, it doesn't just hang straight. You notice we have these bends in it from these bad links. You can see here's a sort of seized up portion of the chain right here, a real stiff link setup. It just isn't a smooth, free-flowing chain. So now right here behind the engine we have the sprocket cover, the counter sprocket cover, and we need to remove 3 bolts there. Some videos say that you need to drop the foot peg out of the way or something like that, but that isn't an issue, as you can see. We'll get that cleaned up. That's pretty dirty. There's our front sprocket, which is actually fairly worn. Just got the bike left in gear here for this. You can see it's providing plenty of resistance. So those 3 bolts are removed, and then this retainer just gets turned until the splines line up there. And same thing goes for the sprocket. Just pulls right out off those splines. There it is. You can see how those teeth are turned forward, like I said. Sometimes when teeth wear a little bit thin, I've done it myself when I was younger, when your teeth wear a little bit thin enough so that they start, with the torque going forward, they start pulling the tips of the teeth, the crest, back over, you turn your sprocket around so those teeth are hooking your sprocket instead. Now for the factory 15 here, this retainer goes right on the outside like that, and you can see we just have room enough for the chain to run around there. With the new sprocket, once that gets on there, you can see we simply don't have the room. So what people do is they just remove this little rubber ring here. It's not really doing a whole lot. It's not really necessary. And then they grind back this lip here. So they just grind this lip. Now you can, I think a lot of people just grind it right off flush here, but I don't think we need that kind of space, but maybe I will. I'll leave a little bit on there just in case I want to find another rubber gasket and put on there later. And there we go. It's as easy as that. Helps having a knife maker's belt grinder sitting there for projects like this. Just makes everything so quick. But that's trimmed down. It's ready to go on. So both sprockets are installed now. We can start putting this back together. So both sprockets are installed now. We can start putting this back together. And I'm not going to put the chain on until it's all back together. And I'm not going to put the front sprocket cover on, the counter sprocket cover, until we get that chain on. So here we have a Bike Master 520 chain. The bike runs a stock 525. And notice this chain has a master link. Now you'll notice with this new chain, just look how free flowing it is. Okay, so that should really improve, will just improve everything. How smooth the bike runs, how smooth it runs on the highway, the amount of vibration in the bike, and how and you'd have to think that it would even take a little bit of strain off the engine. Just let the whole rear end pull a little smoother. So let's get this on. Hopefully we don't have to remove any links. Now it looks like I have enough room in my chain tensioners that I don't have to adjust this chain at all, which is very nice. Here's that master link that we can just push right through the chain like that. We're going to put our outside plate on like so. That was beautiful. And then we just have this retainer clip here. As long as we can get this clip in over. Yeah, just that easy. That was beautiful. Now that clip can't come back on. And remember, just like with the counter sprocket up there, this clip is not really taking any pressure because there's no lateral pressure coming on the chains. It just needs to stay there so that those link pins can't come out. That's all we need to do there. And now for the fun part, probably the part you're here to watch. See how I like that 1444. Or see that's what everyone gives. They just give like their preference or how they like it. You don't have any hard numbers. You don't know if it'll be any good for you. So let's have a look at what kind of speeds we can get now down in first gear, which is what's most important to me. Expecting though. You can kind of let it just idle along here now. Like no clutch here, and we're just down 5-10 kilometers an hour. In second here now. Well, that's a nice difference. Definitely not too drastic, not quite as drastic as I was expecting. Something like that, a little bit of clutch riding still needed, but not near as much clutch ride. It's much nicer in around this small trail. Let's get it back out on the road and see how it does on the top end. Never gotten it up in third there before. 30. So there it is, guys. I gave you the best amount of information I could based on a bit of testing here and that, so hopefully you have an idea of what you might want to get. Again, it's no good for me to really give my opinion. It's all about personal preference. For me, this is perfect, just what I want. I could even do a little bit lower on the bottom end, but I don't think I'd want to lose any more on the top end. I was squeezing 120 out of it, and then as you saw, just ripping. It was pulling pretty good at that point. Really up there in the rev range. At 100, you could hold 100 for a while, no problem. So you can be pulling 95 and 100 all day long in this thing, and it'll do it fine on the highway. That's kilometers. I'm in Canada, but you're not going to be ripping 120 kilometers an hour down the highway for cross-country runs. At this point, that's just not how the bike is set up for it. But as you can see now, I have that low first, so I can kind of pick around the trees, and it's right where I would want it here now. And that's with the 14 on the front and 44 in the rear. And I switched from a 525 chain to 520, so I can do a lot more playing around now with this chain, with the sprocket ratios. But this is just fantastic. I hope you liked the video. I'm really excited. The bike is coming together. We're going to be doing a little bit more work with it soon. It's going to be getting a little louder, if you can imagine where we're going with that there. But this bike is really coming to life, and I'm excited about that. I was a little bit sour after I sold my KLR and I switched to the DR. There were some things where I think the KLR does better from the factory. A lot of things, actually. The DR really needs to be brought out of its shell, but we're getting it there, and I'm just getting happier and happier with it all the time. So hope you liked the video. Getting myself out of breath. I'm yakking so much. Hit the like button down below, please. Subscribe to my channel if this is your first time here. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me exactly what else you think we should do with it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.